I don't know if I have enough left, but we could find some.
Rev G here. I had my mask on, and then I took it off to say, welcome to the Darshan Center for Spiritual Evolution, where our vision is attuned to a higher awareness of oneness. And we are recording, live streaming here with some beautiful, beautiful participants and members who have braved the floods to come and have a visit with the divine. So we're about to start.
We channeled Noah.
We have a perpetual.
That's so beautiful. Glad you said that, Chris. Awesome. Okay.
No, I'm gonna get closer to you so I can look at your script.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Alright. No, first we do it. Okay, so Chris, you got your pen?
Our call to worship reminds us why we are here tonight, to celebrate, explore, and develop an interfaith experience, and join together in sacred celebration of spirit. We welcome you to the Darshan Center for Spiritual Evolution, where our vision is attuned to a higher awareness of oneness. This house of worship is an interfaith and interfaith sacred space for all people to heal, grow, learn, and develop a spiritual consciousness that celebrates the manifestation of the divine in all things.
This spiritual community is one of interfaith exploration, embracing all faiths that are affirming and positive, adhering to the highest spiritual goal of be good and do good. The major tenet of this spiritual community is that there is one infinite, all-powerful, all-knowing, and ever-present divine source that moves in and around all that is seen and unseen.
We affirm that this divine source is called by many names and is beyond name and form, and recognize that while there are many paths that lead to enlightenment, each person is on their personal journey towards the awareness and understanding of the divine.
We believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that we are spiritually evolving in this lifetime. We declare that enlightenment is possible in the here and now, and that this enlightenment can offer us joy everlasting. We know that living in the present moment and recognizing the true I am, which is our divine nature, is where enlightenment lies.
And we hope that you experience darshan, which is a Sanskrit term for visit with the divine, as a result of this sacred celebration of spirit that was designed for you tonight. We are the guardians of the Darshan Center, and we're so pleased to have you here with us. Please join us now in song.
So this is a call and response, so everybody knows this one. This is a kirtan favorite. So I'm hoping for all of you to sing. Hari-Om, dear Lord, Satnam, holy name, when I come alive within light within, I go home. Hadio, dear Lord, Satnam, holy name. When I call on the light within, I go home. Call on the light within. Call on the light within. Can you hear me call? Calling on the light. Call on the light within. Hadio, dear Lord, Satnam, holy name. When I call on the light within, I go home. Hadio, dear Lord, Satnam, holy name. When I call on the light within, I go home. Call on the light within. Can you hear me call? I'm calling on the light, calling on the light, call on the light within. All right, now say, I am the light. I am the light within. Do you believe it? I am the light within. Come on, let's feel it. I am the light. I am the light. I am the light within. Now say you and look at each other. You are the light within. You are the light within. We are the light. We are the light. We are the light within. Are you weak? And let's try it. I am the light, and you are the light, and we are the light within. I am the light, I call on the light within. I go
Excited to be home. Thank you for always showing us the light, even in the darkness of days. Thank you for bringing us here together in Satsanga, here in person and here virtually. We feel all those who are attending online. We feel your presence here with us. Thank you for keeping our hearts and our minds eager to be open, to learn, hunger for your knowledge, and allow us the ability to take what we learned here today to move forward and to bring us closer and closer to you. And together we pray, Amen.
Amen.
Aho, Ashe, blessed be, so it is. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
An East Indian myth from Star Art. An introduction to myths of different cultures. Long ago in India, there were 5 princes who left their kingdom to search for the kingdom of heaven. They took food and drink for their journey, and Prince Yudhishthira brought his dog, Svana. Switch out. Yudhishthira was the eldest. His brothers were Sahadeva, the all-wise, who was learned beyond all men. Nakula, the all-handsome, famed for his grace and beauty. Arjuna, the all-powerful, who had never been defeated in any contest of arms. And Bhima, the all-joyful, known for his good humor and love of pleasure. After many days' journey, the brothers came to a fair where music was playing and people were feasting and dancing. Bhima, the all-joyful, said to his brothers, "I will rest here today and be happy and seek the kingdom of heaven tomorrow." Yudhishthira, his brothers, and the dog Savana went on without him. Several days later, the travelers arrived at a large plain where a great army was drawn up in ranks facing the enemy. When Arjuna, the all-powerful, saw this, he said to his brothers, "I will fight for my country today, and seek the kingdom of heaven tomorrow. Yudhishthira, his brothers, and the dog Savana continued without him. Many days and nights passed. The travelers came to a magnificent palace surrounded by a garden full of flowers and fountains. In this garden, a beautiful princess was walking with her attendants. When she saw Nakula, the all-handsome, she was seized with love and longing. Nakula, too, was struck with love. He said to his brothers, "I will stay with the princess today and seek the kingdom of heaven tomorrow." Nakula went into the garden, and Yudhishthira, his brothers Sahadeva, and the dog Savana continued without him. Many weary days and nights later, the travelers came to a great temple where the holy men lived. Sahadeva, the all-wise, desired to join them in prayer and study. He told his brother Yudhishthira, "I'll stay here today and seek the kingdom of heaven tomorrow." Sahadeva went into the temple, and Yudhishthira and Savana continued without him. At last, Yudhishthira reached Mount Meru, the doorway to heaven. Indra, the Lord of past and present, appeared before him and invited him to ascend. Yudhishthira bowed low and replied, "Very willingly, I will do so, if I may bring my dog, Savana." "That may not be," said Indra. "There is no place in heaven for dogs. Leave him and enter into eternal happiness."
I cannot do that, said Yudhishthira. I do not wish for any happiness for which I must leave so dear a companion. You traveled on without your 4 brothers, said Indra. Why will you not ascend to heaven without your dog? My lord, replied Yudhishthira, my brothers left me to follow the desires of their hearts. Svana has given his heart to me. Rather than renounce him, I must renounce heaven. You have spoken well, said Indra. Come in and bring your dog with you. So Yudhishthira and Svana ascended into paradise. In recognition of their devotion to one another, Indra set in the sky the constellation of the great dog, whose star, Sirius, is the brightest of them all.
Just started drizzling for a moment, and so our peeps had to come and take cover, but I think it stopped actually, so, but just so you know.
Waheguru, 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 Wahegio, Waheguru, 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 Wahegio, Wahegio, Waheguru, 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 Wahegio, Wahegio, Waheguru, 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 Wahegio, Wahegio. In the light of my soul, I am happy and whole.
Waheguru,
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 Wahegio,
Wahegio,
Waheguru,
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 Wahegio,
Wahegio,
Creator of all, sustainer of all, enlightener of all, destroyer of all, beyond time, beyond space, has no beginning and has no end, has no name and it has no form,
beyond reach,
always unborn,
beyond reach, always unseen.
seen, has no image, just pure being. In the light of my soul, I am happy and whole. In the light of my soul. Waheguru,
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 Wahegio,
Wahegio,
Waheguru,
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 Wahegio,
Wahegio,
Creator of all, sustainer of all, enlightener of all, destroyer of all, beyond form, beyond reach, just pure being. In the light of my soul, I am happy and whole. In the light of my soul. Hey, we want to give a big welcome and shout out to Jay in the corner. Hey, Jay. Can you hear us, Jay? Hey, hey, wave to Jay. Jay's a Darshan member.
So when I was planning this service, you know, I started thinking about the stars. Last week we were here, and it was a beautiful night, and I was talking to Dave, who's one of our members of the Darshan Center, David and Paul, and we looked up and I said, wow, look at that star, and he said, oh, that's a planet. I said, really? He said, yeah, that's Venus. I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. What's that little thing next to it? He said, oh, that's one of the moons. I said, oh. I said, I don't see any of the stars. He goes, oh, well, Mars is over there. Now, I know nothing about the planets. Absolutely don't know anything about them. But I have always, always, always loved the moon and the stars. So when I was a really little girl, I also thought that the moon and the stars loved me. You see, the moon followed me wherever I went. Wherever I went, when I'd look up at night, there would be the moon. And I would see this beautiful, beautiful goddess face in the moon, and she would look down on me, and I just knew she loved me because she wouldn't leave my side. Now that's a child's fantasy. But the moon and the stars definitely give us messages, give us meaning, give us, I guess again, messages when we can't get a message someplace else. You know, the dog star Sirius is a real star. It's up there. And the ancients believed that the aliens came and they created humanity. And they came from the dog star Sirius. And that there's a legend that that is why we are so attached to our canine companions, because they are loyal, like our ancestors from the dog star Sirius. And I've always loved that image, you know, of a dog being up there in the sky, kind of looking out for us. Because, you know, dog spelled backwards is God. And I don't know about you, but I have had so many dogs that I've loved in my life who have been loyal beyond. And just like in the story, which by the way, I found out that was from the Mahabharata, which is an ancient Indian text, that story of the dog, Svana. That dog was loyal beyond control. When everybody else left, that dog stayed. And so that's an image I like to hold on to. You know, stars are really just little suns, right? They're just suns. We think of them as stars, but they're suns in other planets. And the ancients studied and went by the planet, the Ra, the sun god. That was one of the first gods that was ever identified. And the sun gives us everything. The sun gives us warmth. The sun gives us light. Without this sun, we would not be alive. Most of you know that I don't like the season of autumn and fall. For me, it's a time when everything dies, when everything's getting ready to die. And the ancient people really didn't like it a whole lot either, because they knew that they depended on the sun. And so for the sun to be taken away and the darkness to come, they were a little hesitant with that. And they felt like maybe the sun wouldn't come back. We know the sun's always going to come back, but the ancients didn't know that. And they also noted that at this time of year, hope was starting to be lost. It was gray, like it's been in here in South Florida lately. It was dreary, and it wasn't warm. And the people were like, what's going on? You know, has God left us? What's happened to our sun god? And what happened is they would look up at night and they would see the lights in the sky, and they would have hope. And for me, that's what those stars do. When I see the stars at night, it reminds me of hope. I grew up in a little town, and they didn't have all these lights that we have in South Florida. And you could look up at night and the whole sky looked like diamonds, little diamonds all across the sky. It was absolutely beautiful. And it was one of my favorite things to do before I became afraid of the dark. And I only became afraid of the dark, especially in the fall, when people started talking about Halloween and the scary stuff that would happen. I didn't like that at all, but up until that point, I was never afraid of the dark. I always felt safe in the dark because the moon loved me and she wouldn't leave me. There's a story, and the story is by Neale Donald Walsch, and it's called A Little Soul in the Sun. And we've talked about that here before, but we usually talk about the second part of it. You know, the second part of it's when the little soul comes to earth and becomes forgiveness, and it's wonderful. But the first part of the story is that the little soul recognizes that it's light, and it goes to God and it says, hey God, you know, I'm light. And God says, yeah, you are. And the little soul goes, but I don't know what that is. And God says, well, because you're around all the other light. And because you're around all the other light, you can't see yourself. The only way to see yourself is to go into what you are not, to go into the dark. And the little soul's like, well, am I going to be afraid in the dark? And God says, that's up to you. It's up to what you choose. And so the little soul goes into the dark. And at first he thinks God has left him. And then God says, look at yourself. And the little soul recognizes that he himself is emanating a little light. And as he gets happier and more joyful, that little light gets brighter and brighter and brighter. And the little light then starts to know that it is the light. It reminds me of, you know, the Bible story where God created light, and it was good. Michael Murdad, who is the head of the Unity Church in Sedona, says that we are that light, that we are actually the first beings that God created. And that's why we've been there from the beginning with God. That's why we are co-creators. We are part of that universal light. And the Kabbalah tells us that that light split into different sparks, and each one of us carries that spark in our hearts. We know that there are times in our life when it's just us and God. We hear that, and if you're in recovery, you know that. There's that day when it's just you and God. No one else is to be found, and it may not be real comfortable. And in that time when it's just you and God, if you can remember that God never leaves you, and you remember you're the spark, and you feel like you're surrounded by the dark, turn inward and look for your own light, because it's there. It's right there. You know, this time of year, I won't watch scary movies. I don't like them. They don't turn me on at all. I am much more a Disney person. So when I was thinking about this light and dark thing, I started to think about The Lion King. You know, in The Lion King, Simba looks up at the sky and he says to his dad, what is all that? And his father says, those are the kings that have passed before. And they're in the sky just waiting for you to ask them what you need to ask them. And they will always be there. And in the right moment, they will answer you. And so I recognize that this really is symbolic. A lot of Disney stuff's really symbolic if you look at it. And it's really all about, again, us turning within. When we feel like we're in darkness, when we feel like we don't know which way to go, when we feel like we just don't have a clue what the next step is, we can turn within and we can access that spark, that divine spark, and we can get knowledge. And sometimes this knowledge is just from the God light within us, but sometimes we have to turn to our ancestors. And so we move on to the next Disney movie, and that is Coco. Coco's about the Day of the Dead, and it's about remembering those who have passed on, recognizing that on Halloween, or Samhain, as the ancient pagans called it, the Wiccans, Samhain, which means end of summer, celebrates death. They recognize death, but they didn't see death as a negative. They saw death as the next part of the transition. They saw death as what happens right before we become again, before we come back to the light. But in Coco, if you didn't remember your ancestors, and you didn't put their picture on the altar, they went away. Well, you know, the ancient Celts did the same thing. Really, Samhain was about celebrating the ancestors. My family's Irish, and so the Irish Celts would put out food and gifts and little things on Halloween that they thought their ancestors needed on the other side. It wasn't about being scary. It wasn't about, oh, the light, you know, the ghosts are coming. No, it was the ancestors, and they weren't afraid. They would go out into the woods and set up these big feasts for the ancestors. So it doesn't have to be scary. I know with COVID-19, we're all a little afraid, right? I don't think there's anybody who hasn't been touched by this, either through having somebody they love be taken because of COVID-19 or get sick because of COVID-19. It's a very scary time right now. It's very scary politically as well, but we can turn within and we can find the light within us so we are never, never totally in the dark. We can turn to our ancestors and ask for their guidance. Our ancestors had skills. You know, I rely a lot. I go back a lot when I was a little girl, and I speak a lot about my grandmother. She was a great lady. And one of the things that she taught me, and I'll never forget it, is she said, you know, Mary, you're no better than anybody else. And you're no worse than anybody else. You're the same as everybody else. You're absolutely the same as everybody else. And I don't think she even knew that little bit of knowledge that she was giving me and how important it truly was, because we are all each other. We all breathe the same breath. We all are ignited by the same spark. We all have that God force within us. And so when we are making decisions that are going to affect other people, we're making decisions about ourselves. When we're making decisions about ourselves, we're making decisions about other people. And so in this very scary time of COVID and political unrest, I ask you to go within, to listen to your ancestor, to think about an ancestor who's really influenced you, and to think about the courage that they had during their life and the things that they dealt with. Go in and find that skill, that beautiful part of them that you want to emulate, and then stand up. Stand up not just for yourself, but for every other sentient being on this planet at this time. Every decision we make right now, you guys know what I'm talking about. Every decision we make for the whole planet. And so I'm asking you tonight to remember to look up You know, we look up when we think about heaven, we look up. Look up and see the stars. Recognize the lights that are in the dark. Remind yourself that the darkness cannot overtake the light. If you have even one of these little tiny tea lights that we have, one of these little tiny tea lights in a really dark room, guess what? It shines. And you have that little bit of light. But when you add all the lights together, what happens is it gets brighter and brighter and brighter. Now the part I didn't tell you about in the beginning with the Neil Donald Walsh story is God also tells the little light that the sun is made up of each little light, all shining in unison together. And so we as a community are like the sun, and we can shine our lights. And I want to challenge you to make decisions for the universe, make decisions for the sentient beings who cannot speak, make decisions for your brothers and sisters who may not have the privilege that you have. Make the decisions that feel right within your God spark, within your heart. I thank you so much for listening to me tonight. Namaste. I'd like to invite the clergy to share. Max, you want to start?
Thank you, Rev Mary. So the first thing that I really start thinking about is I love the beginning part of the story of the little soul. Because yeah, we definitely don't get to hear that enough. And what I just keep focusing on is how when he was afraid to go out to be able to see how bright he could shine. And they talk about, you know, him being a dim light at first, but what I love is at no point does the light ever go out. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, and it's a good reminder for me to think of that, you know, no matter how dim or how flickering my light may get sometime, especially in the dark night of the soul moment, it never goes out. So that gives me hope, because once it gets to a certain point, it's only just going to get brighter. So thank you for that. It's beautiful.
I always love your messages, Rev Mary, and at the beginning we talked a little bit about it's just me and God, and I relate to that because I always felt in my life like I was alone except for God. So I've always kind of felt like it's just me and God, and that was enough. Because having God by my side is such a comfort. No matter how hard things get, God is right there with me, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
It's raining.
Sister Chris?
It's raining again. If you guys want to move, don't feel inhibited. I love the message, and remembering that it really is the light within us that connects with all of the other lights to create the sun. And you know, in Judaism we talk about the divine sparks, and that we're all divine sparks. And I like the reminder right now in this time of COVID and in this time of political confusion and unrest, to be reminded that there's a light within us that can shed some clarity, that there's a light within us that can illuminate our hearts, illuminate our minds. And so when we do that, we're going up into the higher realms, and we're seeking a higher consciousness at all times. So when we place our consciousness within to look for the light within, we're seeking the realm of a higher consciousness. And so I love the message. I love the reminder of seeking a higher consciousness, of seeking the light, and remembering that we are here for that purpose, to connect our lights to each other's, and to continue to use our light to illuminate love in the world. So thank you.
What she said.
I'll have what she's having. No. I loved it, Mary. I loved the story, the Hindu story, and one of the things that you said is like we make these decisions, and in every moment, I get this opportunity to decide, like, which way am I going to go? Am I going to go toward the light, or am I going to go toward the dark? And sometimes the confusing part for me is that while it may feel like overall I'm making a decision toward the light, in my quest for the light, I sometimes engage the dark side, if that makes any sense. So, like, for example, you know, we're involved in ministry, we're involved in seminary, we're involved in, even if you're an activist, let's say you're an activist, a peace activist, and you're, you know, wanting so bad to, you know, stop the violence, and, you know, it's just these people, I can't stand them. They're all these violent people. I hate these violent people. You know, that's going toward the light, but with a, you know, with a little bit of a dash of darkness, right? So, you know, it's constantly, it's a constant practice, spirituality and spiritual evolution. It's a practice. And that's why, you know, I've not gotten it perfect, so I continue to practice it, right? And like last night I said during Kirtan, it ain't easy being green. I feel like that's going to be the new slogan. It's Kermit the Frog for sure, but it's Krishna. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says this clearly to Arjuna, and he says, "My wondrous Maya, how difficult you are to cross." So with the intention in our heart to be light, sometimes we engage in darkness. And so it's a constant sort of reminder and struggle and wake up call and all of that. So I'm going to keep coming back and I'm going to keep practicing.
Okay, so for our ritual tonight, we are inviting everyone here and everyone at home to really think about what Rev Mary said and to think about a certain ancestor that you want to call upon. And what we're going to do is we're going to light our little candle as we call upon our particular ancestor and really think about the gifts that they brought that you as well want to bring to the world. So I am going to go first. I am following the star of my ancestor Leela, who brought courage to the world. I will bring light to others. And then I invite out to the people first. The people.
And so for those at home who may not have heard exactly, right? We want to type in the comment section, "I am honoring my ancestor," and state their name, "who brought whatever quality or gift to the world. I will bring this light to others." I am honoring my ancestor, state their name, who brought, and then place their quality in that box, to the world. I will bring this light to others.
And then what? Okay. I am honoring my ancestor Sarah, my grandmother, who brought the gift of light to the world. I will bring this light to others.
first,
who brought with equality,
joy, and unconditional love to everyone.
I will bring this light to others.
And I will bring this light to others.
I am honoring my ancestor.
I am honoring my ancestor, my mother, who showed perseverance and hard work.
I will bring this light to others.
I will bring this light to others.
Great. I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, my light is already lit here, so, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this light that's already lit is lit for my ancestor, my grandmother, who brought to this world and to me the gift of thirst of knowledge. I will bring this light to others. Oh, I'm sorry.
I am honoring my grandmother Sigrid with this light. My grandmother Sigrid brought the gift of laughter and joy to this world, and I will bring this light to others.
Franny? Fran? Fran needs a script.
No, I don't need a script.
I got both. How about that?
I'm honoring my dad, who brought great humility to this world, and I will bring this light to others.
You want to go, Reverend? Yeah.
And I am honoring my grandmother Eileen, who brought unconditional love and connection to the world, and I will bring this light to others.
And after this song, we're going to read the comments. There's a lot of people are commenting. Rev Mary. It's about time, time for a change. It's time to see there must be a way to answer those prayers and cries in the night of children to life. Will be your light, light in the dark, still burning bright, just like a star. Light in the dark, still burning bright, just like a star. Let's shine a light tonight for the whole world to see. It's about time, time that this ends, for people to know and not just pretend that everything's fine, 'cause they need to know how this really is, how this really is. Will be your light, light in the dark, still burning bright, just like a star. Will be your guide, guide in the dark, giving you hope. Will be your light, light burning bright, just like a star. Let's shine a light tonight for the whole world to see. Let's do that one more time. Let's shine a light tonight
for the whole world to see.
And so we're gonna read, right, Rev Mary?
Yeah, please.
There's a lot of beautiful comments here. I'll read them all. Could you lower that, Sister Chris? Thank you so much. Yes, please. Oh, thanks. Okay, good. So Bella C., who is really Christine, says, I am honoring my ancestor Michael Telesco and his faith to the world. Anna is saying, I am honoring my ancestor Daisy Flynn, who brought the gift of comfort to the world. I will bring this gift of comfort to others. Chris says, I don't have an ancestor who's passed, but I do have my grandmother Darlene, who I'd like to honor, who taught me morals, which I was then able to build upon and create myself from. I will bring this light to others. Christine is also honoring her ancestor Marie de Benedetto for her kindness and that she brought to the world, and she will bring this gift to others. Reverend Sue, I don't know how to pick just one ancestor. There are too many of them who let me know they're helping me out for me to pick just one. Dr. Donna says, I am honoring my ancestor, her father Richard, who brought the gift of compassion to the world, and she will bring this light of compassion to others as a karma yogi. Reverend Sarah from One More Day Foundation is honoring her mother Diane Dame Whitten, who brought such gentleness, love, and humor to the world, and she is bringing her light to the world. Vern is honoring his grandfather Gerald, who brought a reverence from the land and for animals as a farmer, and he will bring that light to others. And Reverend Sue is striving to honor all of her ancestors by being the brightest light she can be. And finally, Reverend Donna, Dr. Donna, oh, that was a premonition. Oh, that was a premonition. Dr. Donna said, I am honoring the gift of my recently departed mother, Elaine, of strength and courage to the world, and will bring that gift of strength and courage to the world.
We are all so grateful for your support, especially during this time. As you may already know, we rely completely on your donations. Expenses like rent, electricity, and others continue, and new expenses like a super air purifier and technical equipment pop up every month, even as we meet outside or on Zoom, until it becomes safe to return to our sanctuary. It's so easy to donate. Use paypal.me/Darshan Center or Venmo at Darshan Center 840 or Cash App $Darshan Center 840. And please know that any amount you can give with love will be accepted with love and gratitude. Every amount helps. We thank you, we bless you, and we love you. Stay safe.
So we're going to, for the offering song, and give you a chance to get your PayPal in there. It's paypal.me//Darshan Center, and I think that probably Sister Fran, I wasn't paying attention because I was talking to Reverend Max, probably already gave the Venmo situation and the Cash App. But since Reverend Mary talked about the Bhagavad, the Mahabharata, and Krishna, right? I think you did refer to Krishna. Well, if you didn't, I did when I said it ain't easy being green. So here we go. There's a little offering song. Krishna was blue. No, Krishna was not blue. Was he blue? He was blue. Don't be blue, Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Here we go, we're gonna get fast. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare. Okay, so really quick announcements. Here's the announcements. We had a great kirtan last night. Thank you to Christine. Thank you to Sister Chris. Rock the house. Thank you to Michael and Honey and Nidal for getting us from here to there, and unbelievable record-breaking time. The next thing that we want to just announce is that the next kirtan is to be announced. Let's just leave it at that. We're going to be announce it. And Night of Enchantment this year is not going to happen on New Year's Eve. Okay, so we're just like going to keep it at that. For God to reveal to us when our Night of Enchantment will be held. So I'm not going to say that Night of Enchantment is canceled. I'm going to say that Night of Enchantment held on New Year's Eve for now is canceled, and it will be canceled. But we are going to have a Night of Enchantment whenever we are able to figure that out. Okay, Sister Chris, oh, what's happening? This is too far away. Okay, this is what is happening. Okay, Sister Chris, show this.
Look at
Oh
this
my
beautiful,
goodness.
A very Darshan Christmas 2020.
Yes, yes.
A fundraiser.
It's a fundraiser, and that was donated. The creation of those were donated by Rev to the Max, and we're selling them how much?
$20.
$20, and all the proceeds go to help Darshan Center. Listen, we need some fundraising because Night of Enchantment was our big fundraiser for the year, so that ain't happening to this year. So,
And your Christmas tree could use a little interface.
but your Christmas tree could use a little Darshan. So, Sister Chris is going to do the benediction.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Blessed One, we are so grateful to have had this evening together. Thank you for holding the rain off. Thank you for clearing the skies except for those little dribbles. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to come together to celebrate your light, to celebrate the light that's within every one of us, to celebrate the light of the stars, to celebrate all of creation that's illuminated with your divine spirit. We come together and we heal every time that we're together. We come together and we heal, merging our lights, connecting our lights in person and online. We are so connected with our spiritual family, our spiritual tribe. We know that as we do this holy work of recognizing the divine, we are elevating the energy of peace on this planet, of healing on this planet, and of love on this planet. And we are humble and appreciative for the opportunity to do your work. Blessed be, Aho, Amen, Ashe.
Blessed
Om
be,
Shanti,
blessed
Shanti,
be,
Shanti.
blessed be, blessed be.
And we have a nice way of closing. And we usually dance it out.
Sometimes the world feels like a mess, full of drama, full of stress. A life puts a fist right in your ribs. You can hide it, you choose to, and no one would even blame you. Or you can let them see how you deal with it. That even in the darkest place, His love can make you radiate. Doesn't matter how deep, how dark the night is. Keep on shining. And this sees that burning in your heart. And if the road gets rough, just keep your head up. Let the world see what you're made of. Deepest part, like a flame, like a burning star, you can shine right where you are. It made you to glow in the dark. Don't be ashamed of your past. It can shatter like a piece of glass. The more broke you are, the more the light gets through. Show your wounds and your flaws. Show 'em why you still need the cross. Let 'em see the work He's doing in you. That even in the darkest place, His love can make you radiate. Doesn't matter how deep, how dark the night is. Keep on shining. And this sees that burning in your heart. And if the road gets rough, just keep your head up. Let the world see what you're made of. His love's alive in your deepest part. Like a flame, like a burning star, you can shine right where you are. It made you